Kanye's anti-Semitic statements have emboldened Nazi groups in deeply red parts of the country, including Los Angeles. Seriously. In fact, over the weekend, there were some Nazi groups who had decided to unfurl anti-Jewish signage right above the 405 freeway, again, in Los Angeles. Nazis were photographed standing on an overpass on the 405 freeway, the massive interstate that is like the spine of Los Angeles on Saturday. Among the banners hanging over the rushing cars were "Honk if you know Kanye is right about the Jews." Another banner cited part of the Bible, which apparently reads, quote, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee." And that's from Revelations. So now there's increased pressure for Adidas to drop Kanye West. And as we discuss the story at this moment, they have still failed to end any business deal that they have with him. In fact, they've been working with him as one of their spokespeople. He has been putting out his sneakers with Adidas. And after the first round of disgusting anti-Semitic comments, Adidas said that they would, review their relationship with Kanye, but they hadn't really severed ties with Kanye. Now, Adidas, whose founders were in fact Nazis, I don't know how many people are aware of that, has said it has placed its contract with West under review, but has not severed its ties, despite calls to do so by the Anti-Defamation League and others. The West collaboration reportedly brings in quite a bit of money, $2 billion a year, and that is 10% of the company's revenue. So as you can imagine, money talks, and it seems like they're reluctant to drop Kanye. And again, as we speak of this now, they have failed to do so. Now, there have been other brands and talent agencies that have boycotted or dropped their business relationship with Kanye. Balenciaga is no longer working with him. CAA, the talent agency that used to represent him, has also dropped him, of course. And the head of United Talent Agency also put out a memo calling for a boycott of Kanye West, his products and music. I'll get to his statements in just a moment. But Cenk, I'm curious what you think, because we do talk about this quite often, like with Nike doing a campaign with Kaepernick. They don't do it because they genuinely believe in what Kaepernick stands for. They do it because they think it's gonna make them money. And to be sure, that ad campaign did bode well for their bottom line. In this case, I think Adidas is like trying to find the right calculation, but they are getting, attacked for not taking a stance.
Yeah, there's tons of money on the line. That's what's happening. So let me break it down for you guys. First of all, I was worried, as you guys all saw, if you watched, when Kanye first came out with those comments, I said, this is opening the closet door to anti-Semitism and giving people permission to walk through that door and come out of the closet. And it's going to get worse and worse. And instantly it started getting worse and worse with more right-wing commenters, pundits, talk show hosts beginning to say similar things. Donald Trump putting out some anti-Semitic comments, and now there are Nazis in LA. And maybe they were always Nazis in LA, but they never bothered to put up banners and do salutes on the 405, right? So, and now they have been given permission, and they explicitly say it's because of Kanye. So super dark times. If you're not Jewish, so you're not worried about anti-Semitism, number one, that means you're a bad person. You should be worried about all kind of bigotry and discrimination, no matter who it's done to. But number two, there were another reason to be worried about the rise of anti-Semitism is that it is one of the last things that goes before full-blown fascism. And so historically, that's almost always the pattern. And here we are. We've had 1,000 little things go on, so 1,000 big things go in the direction of fascism, like not believing in democracy anymore and trying to tear down the government if you don't win an election in a democracy, right? And now here comes anti-Semitism. So this is a massive issue. So now look, you had the right wing break their Keurig machines, if I remember right, and burn their Nikes, and they had the left wing protest Chick-fil-A, which I took a part. That's like the only boycott I took a part in, et cetera. And so we've had these, and some have been important, some have been around the edges. This one is not at all around the edges, and it's super important. So this is not a close call at all. It's not within a mile of a close call because he's not using a dog whistle. He's using a foghorn. He's saying, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He's saying that Jewish media mafia controls all the media. This is crazy. This is nutso bigotry, right? And so now Adidas and their history. Let me tell you if that's why they did it or if it's another reason. So I didn't know this until all this thing came out. It turns out there was the Daschle Bruters, okay, who used to run a sneaker company in Germany. And then the Nazis came and then they did business with the Nazis. And they had two brothers. One was Rudolf, the other one was Adolf. One was more pro-Nazi, the other one was slightly less pro-Nazi, okay? And the one that was slightly less pro-Nazi was actually Adolf, ironic. And where does Adidas come from? It comes from, Das is from Dassler, that's their last name. And Adi is short for Adolf. I did not know that, okay? So that's Adidas. That's discomforting, okay?
1000%.
He was a less of a Nazi than Rudolf was. And Rudolf, they split, I know, I'm kidding, but like what difference does it make, right?
Yeah.
But actually, if you read the history of it, there was one Jewish family that vouched for Adolf Dassler and said that he hid them. I don't, take it for what it's worth, right? But he totally profited from the Nazi regime. So that's Adidas. The other guy was way more Nazi and he formed Puma. Okay, so those are the two companies. So is that why the Germans are still holding on to that? No, those guys are long dead. These are now corporate executives who are looking to maximize profit. I don't know if they have any personal anti-Semitism. I don't know them at all, right? But the reality is, the much bigger deal is they have a yearly contract with Kanye West that is worth $220 million a year. My guess, now this is just a guess, is that there's a clause in that contract that if they dump him, he gets paid anyway. So that's probably why they're going, oh my God, this is $1 billion over 5 years. Are we about to set it on fire?
Yeah, you go ahead, pay him anyway. Because now all of these people who had no idea about the pretty gross and dark history of Adidas are learning about the history of Adidas. I'm sure there was some work done to kind of, rehab the reputation of this shoe company. And now they're probably gonna have to spend a lot of money rehabbing the reputation of this shoe company. I think it would have been far better. First of all, look, obviously you can talk about the moral thing to do, but when you're talking about corporations, discussing morality is really, it's a moot point because they're not in any way motivated by what is and is not moral. They're motivated by their profits, right? By their bottom line. And so if that's what they're doing, if that's the only calculation they have in mind, it would be far better to take a strong stance against Kanye and anti-Semitism, like from the get-go, from the beginning, rather than this wishy-washy, like our contract is under review. All right, great. So let's take a deep dive into the history of your shoe company and what you guys supported, which was the brutal slaughter of millions of Jewish people and others.
Yeah, and look, guys, probably the executives that are making these decisions are the executives that have that crappy contract with Kanye in the first place. So they're thinking, oh my God, if I let go of this $1 billion, that's gonna land right on top of my head and I'm gonna get fired. And so that's probably the calculation that's going on here. Luckily, as always, we do constructive critique, so I have a solution for them, okay? Shut down your company, no, I'm kidding. The solution is, guys, you come out against Kanye and then you say he violated the contract. Did he violate the contract? I don't know, I haven't read the contract. Is there a clause in the contract that you could arguably say he violated? Of course there is, there always is, right? And then you go to court and you drag it out for a decade until Kanye's broke. He's an idiot, he's gonna bankrupt himself anyway. You don't pay him the $1 billion, what are you, nuts? You go to court, you do what Trump does. The smart thing to do in business is to not pay your debts, okay? So yeah, and then Kanye will cry like crazy. He'll say, oh, Adidas sucks. And he'll create more reasons why you could win the lawsuit, right? When he eventually sues you for that money. By the way, Kanye is theoretically worth $2 billion according to Forbes. I never believe it because he said he was broke just a couple of years ago and was begging Mark Zuckerberg for money. But one of the 2 billion is based on this Adidas contract. So if you take it away, is it gonna hurt him? Yeah, it's gonna hurt him real bad. And this isn't like, what drives me crazy about the anti-Semitism is it's a no-win, it's a catch-22. You say the Jews run the media and then people get pissed and because it's terrible bigotry and they take away your contracts, you go, aha, you see? No, not aha, you see. Like any decent person would take away your contract. It doesn't matter if you're saying this awful things about Jews, Muslims, blacks, Latinos, you name it, right? It shouldn't matter. It often doesn't matter. And so for God's sake, do the right thing already. Not Kanye, he's hopeless and he's lost. Talking to Adidas.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.